tested. We had our record day in the last 24 hours to 8 p.m. More than 38,000 people came forward to get tested. So thank you so much to everybody who did that. Thank you to our Northern Beaches community and all of those in Greater Sydney who respected the health orders and the new restrictions we've put in place. And they are, at this point in time, having their desired effect. I'm pleased to say overnight we had 15 locally acquired cases, all of which are linked to the Avalon cluster. And obviously our continued hard effort is required to make sure that we continue that downward trend. But as we know, in a pandemic, things can be very volatile and can move very quickly. But pleasingly overnight, we did see a reduction in the previous day's numbers. So we've seen 15 community transmission overnight, all of which are directly linked to the Avalon cluster. But as Dr. Chant will highlight, there are still a number of venues where people who are infected attended outside of the Northern Beaches, and health always takes a very cautious and precautionary approach. So you will see during the course of the morning, as you've already seen for those of you who are monitoring the website, the government website, and we are encouraging people to monitor the website as much as possible, that you will see more venues added to that list as the day goes by, and that's because our contact tracers are doing a phenomenal job in getting on top of people who've been identified as positive and making sure they identify all those venues that have been to. To date, every single case we've had has been linked to the Avalon cluster, and that's the way we want to keep it. Although, obviously, some venues outside of the Northern Beaches have been impacted, and obviously they're issues that health officials are going through today. Can I also say, Minister Hazzard will highlight this point. We do have, I believe, one of the best, if not the best, contact tracing team on the planet. But they can't contact trace people if they don't have the details. And Minister Hazzard will outline how important it is for businesses and organisations to give us those details, to make sure the QR codes and everything else is in place, because you can't contact people whose details you don't have. And I plead to everybody who runs a business, who runs an organisation, you should not be letting anybody in your front door, anywhere in New South Wales for that matter, unless you have your systems in place. You shouldn't be opening your doors as a business or an organisation unless you have your systems in place to get all the information for people walking through that front door. Again, can I thank everybody for respecting the restrictions? The government is monitoring the situation almost on an hourly basis. We will consider our position in relation to what Christmas and the next few days look like beyond Wednesday midnight on Wednesday morning, but obviously it's an ongoing brief. And again, I thank people for coming forward and getting tested. I thank people for respecting the health orders and the restrictions. It's evident that people are doing what we've asked them to do. And in terms of mask wearing, please make sure, if you're in an indoor setting, obviously on the Northern Beaches it's more paramount, but if you're catching public transport, you need to be wearing a mask. If you're going grocery shopping or indoor shopping in a mall or anywhere else, you need to be wearing a mask. In those indoor settings that health has already identified, you should be wearing a mask, in particular if it's a place of worship. We already know what the high-risk areas are. We know what the high-risk areas of transmission and the high-risk activities are, and we ask people to respond accordingly. Don't think you're immune. This can affect any of us. And we know from the cases, not just in the last few days but previously, how absolutely contagious this virus is, how absolutely essential it is for us to get on top of it. And because health still doesn't know yet what the intermediary cases were, where the source of the spread in the community is, we have to be as vigilant as ever. The Deputy Premier will now make some comments about regional New South Wales. Dr Chant will give her daily health update, and then Minister Hazzard will speak specifically about the Northern Beaches and also the importance of keeping good records. Thank you.